It began in the pitch-black depths of the earth, far beyond the reach of daylight. On a bitter, unforgiving afternoon in 1867, the silent, gaping maw of what was supposed to be the longest transport tunnel in the Americas suddenly exhaled. It wasn't dust or steam, but a violent, suffocating cloud of thick, yellowish-black toxic vapor. It rolled out of the granite mountain like a physical weight, choking out the pale sky and transforming a monumental engineering triumph into a claustrophobic tomb in a matter of seconds. The heavy iron carts and wooden tracks leading into the abyss were instantly swallowed by the creeping poison. But this catastrophic event wasn't a sudden act of nature, an earthquake, or a geological fluke. It was a calculated, mathematical risk. It was engineered by powerful men in tailored suits, trying to win an aggressive financial race, willingly paying for construction speed with cheap, highly unstable chemistry. To understand the scale of the disaster, you have to look at the ledgers. The stakes were astronomical. Stockholders, wealthy politicians, and railroad tycoons demanded the immediate completion of this massive transport artery through the mountain. The goal was simple: monopolize the freight industry of the East Coast. But the solid granite of the mountain was unforgiving, and the operations budget was bleeding out by the millions. Behind closed doors in a mahogany boardroom, far removed from the suffocating dust of the construction camps, the directors made a fatal executive decision. To cut costs and violently accelerate the drilling process, they abandoned the use of reliable traditional black powder. Instead, they authorized the bulk purchase of an experimental, highly volatile, and dangerously cheap chemical compound: raw nitroglycerin. But the negligence didn't stop there. Independent engineering reports explicitly demanded the construction of central vertical ventilation shafts to allow dangerous fumes to escape during the blasting. The executives looked at the price tag of those safety shafts and vetoed them immediately. They deemed the structural safety measures an unnecessary expense that would cut into their quarterly dividends. For the men balancing the books, the bottom line was the only metric that truly mattered. Nature, however, does not negotiate with corporate budgets. The math of their extreme negligence finally caught up with them deep inside the unventilated stone labyrinth. Miles into the dark, a massive chemical charge was ignited by the exhausted crews. But without those vital ventilation shafts to dissipate the pressure and the toxic byproducts of the blast, the chemical reaction turned catastrophic. A dense, inescapable wall of lethal smoke and rapidly expanding gas rebounded through the confined, narrow space of the tunnel. It acted like a piston in an engine, obliterating the sparse oxygen supply and destroying everything in its path. The subterranean dark was instantly consumed by a silent, creeping poison. The sheer atmospheric pressure trapped the operation beneath millions of tons of solid rock, turning a marvel of modern engineering into an inescapable trap. Heavy iron drills, wooden scaffolding, and the very air itself became toxic. The mountain hadn't collapsed, but it had been poisoned from the inside out, and there was absolutely no way to breathe. When the toxic smoke finally cleared days later, the financial ruin was absolute and immediate. The grand infrastructure project stalled completely, plunging the private corporation into a devastating public scandal. Investor confidence, once built on the promise of an industrial monopoly, evaporated overnight. The company's shares plummeted, rendering them virtually worthless on the trading floor. The sheer scale of the corporate hubris and the ensuing legal nightmare forced the state government to step in. To prevent a complete collapse of the regional economy, the state had to take over the failing project, bailing out the ruins with taxpayer money. This unmitigated disaster ignited a furious legal reckoning. Class action lawsuits drained the remaining executive funds, laying the groundwork for the very first stringent federal regulations regarding the industrial transport and use of experimental chemical compounds. The executives thought they were saving millions, but they proved a brutal corporate truth. Cheap shortcuts always carry the highest, most devastating price.